Okay, remember that they're changing my voice because there's a bunch of terrorists that run the U.S. government these days with vested interest in trying to confuse people about who I am. There's LGBT radicals and moderates alike working together to kind of, sabotage me, what have you. There's white supremacists, Jewish supremacists, not just Zionists. There's token minorities that, are opportunists, and they're helping them. And they basically terrorize countless people, and they threaten all Americans, basically. And on the anniversary, right, it's like it's the 23rd anniversary of 9/11. We see that that's what's happened in these 23 years. Extreme terrorism, extreme sexual control, child molestation. Those numbers, the reality of the situation, it must be increasing. Okay, because when we look at it, we see this kind of pedo-sadism, these cultures of people dressing like they're younger, people being immature, people acting like cartoon characters, okay, people embracing cartoon personalities like Harley Quinn and things of that nature, people having split personalities of children while older people molest them, okay, and even, people they've been molesting for a long time, they want them to behave like they did when they're younger, and it's very sick what's going on here. There's no shortage of sex cults out there. There's no shortage of cultures. Frats and sororities, whether people want to admit it or not, they're based on kind of Greco-Roman pederasty and sexual immorality. So some people will say, hey, well, I'll debate you on it. It's a little bit tricky. I'm not saying that, you can look it up and find information that says, hey, that means, that these guys were based on that. But it's when you read between the lines, the evidence is overwhelming that they're the continuity of that age-old Zeus and Ganymede, that pederasty that was so common in Greece. But what happened after 9/11 is that people with radical agendas, you might say radical agendas, but it's really the whole country's agenda. It's really, I perceive it to come mostly from the moderate types, people who are considered moderate. Behind the scenes, they're radical, right? They're radical Greco-Roman cultural fanatics, neo-Roman, neo-pagan fanatics. And every church and mosque and synagogue, every religion, every group you can think of seems to be involved. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, when we look around, what are the signs of it? Well, is the culture you see like what you picture of the old Catholic culture, what they try to pretend it was, right? When it was really paganism, just like Protestants, right? No, that's not what you see. Do you see, Sharia law and serious Muslim culture? No. Do you see a serious Hindu culture or Jain or Shinto or Buddhist? No. What you see is like Greece and Rome. It was what you would expect Greece and Rome to look like, okay, in this day and age, if it maintained its core cultures, traditions, old money families, what have you. And we see the statues and how people resemble the statues, celebrities, and, especially the British, right, celebrity, right, it went through England. Rome occupied England for hundreds of years, and we see the signs here that Western culture was really forged by Neo-Roman culture, Neo-Greek culture. So the main threat to America, okay, some people have said it's white supremacy. What is white? I've heard people make the claim that the term white for European cultures wasn't used until after the Greeks and Romans swept through Europe, kind of made their cultures more uniform. And, with the rape of Europa, as they say, in Greek mythology, that's that whole continent, right? And then they went across the world raping and killing and terrorizing. So even these groups like ISIS, right? ISIS worship was also something that occurred in Rome in a Western way, right? So are they a Western conception of ISIS? And, a pagan twist of Islam? Yes. Okay. And, and obviously I firmly believe that all these Abrahamic faiths are best described as pagan. They're best described as occult religions that aren't true religions. I don't mean to insult anybody, but you have to understand what's going on here. So no offense other than the offense that God intended. So as we look at this thing, right, It's the anniversary again of September 11. And, oh, my father's in the hospital. Okay. And when I went to the hospital, I saw certain things. I'll make a video about that later. So I don't want to give away which hospital he's in, what have you. Certain things that gave away that there's codes in the hospital, right? Masons are famous for codes. Speaking of that, I forgot to bring that up. I called it, and I called it big time. I was right on the mark, as usual, with the shooting that occurred near Atlanta at Apalachee High School, okay, or however you say that, where when they released the body camera footage, lo and behold, on the door of the father of the shooter, there was a G. And before they released the names of the victim, I released my video, and one of them was named Mason. And I have those videos out, and they didn't get very many views. They suppressed them. Those videos are key here. How was I able to predict that it was a Masonic event? Okay, how was I able to do that? And when they talk about frequency weapons, sound weapons, why is the word Masonic have the word sonic at the end, and the M-A, right, becomes M, so M-sonic. Okay, so it's it's pretty straightforward what's going on here. Okay. And the main thing I wanted to say in this video is that people are terrorizing targeted individuals, and America lost the war on terror permanently where it matters most. And not to radical Islam, not to your local skinheads per se, it's to the core of these things, right? Just like the English were key in forming the Klan, right? Nathan Bedford Forrest of English descent. You look at who the Klan leaders are, and you kind of put things together. Okay, we see that the core of radical Islam is the West and Israel. Clearly, all those counter-terrorist Mossad-type agents, okay, all those Mossad agents and assets in the Middle East. Yes, they control Hamas. Okay, but they're in turn controlled by a more richer white Jewish and LGBT elite. Okay, there's a reason why Berlin and Dubai and London and country, cities all over the world, Turkey, Beijing, they're more advanced than Israel is. Israel has a lot of basic buildings. It's not that nice of a country. Now, if the Jews ruled the world, why wouldn't it be that nice of a country, right? So there's crypto Jews with a lot more money than these guys in Israel have. Okay, there's more millionaires and billionaires in America than Israel. There's a lot of reasons people are mistaken about this kind of Jew thing. Jews have disproportionate wealth, yes, but it's white Jews and LGBT community. Okay, so if you consider Harry and Charles and William and English royals white and people who look like them, you consider these bigger white guys who are rich, white. You got to look at the distribution of wealth. If you define being Jewish in a very broad sense, then somebody would be, to a large degree, right about it being a Jewish conspiracy. But it's white, Jewish, and LGBT. And that goes back to Jupiter and Juno, the neo-pagan idea. And of course, in some of these historians said that the Jews were from Crete, and the Cretans were key in Greco-Roman mythology. Some claim that King Minos was, I believe, the father of Zeus, and Zeus was born in Crete, and some of these mysteries, some of these mythologies. Okay, some of these guys, basically that a bunch of, the Iliad, the Odyssey, a bunch of people who claimed that they knew the history of the gods. Okay, and these guys had conflicting information at times. And one story goes that Zeus is really from Crete, and the Jews are said to be from Crete. And then when you go to Rome, right, Zeus' equivalent is Jupiter. His wife is Juno. Juju in West Africa is witchcraft. Okay. And strangely enough, the word Obi, when it's used by pagans and people who seek to cheat me, can also mean witchcraft. So it's witchcraft aimed at what? The King Heart Hut, center, essence, temple, core, Christ, Christos, the anointed one, me. Okay? And you have the O, and the second word is bi. I'm not bisexual, I'm not gay, but that's part of what they're doing. Okay? So it's that witchcraft, switchcraft, right? They're trying to pretend that they are magically valid when they're not valid. They're invalid. You see what I'm saying? And that is a key part in this. So what was 9/11 about? It was a psychological moment. Psyche is a Greco-Roman deity. It's It's where we get the word psychology, and her name means mind and soul and spirit and so on and so forth. So as we look at this thing, these psychos, again, psyche, psychotic, psychosis, psyche, psychiatry, psychology, you see what I'm saying? There's no other way to look at it. And they talk about psychopath, psyche path, the path of being in a trance-like state. And if you look at these shooters, I can't remember the last time I seen some kind of mass shooter or some kind of criminal that did something outrageous and who didn't have a trance-like look in their eye when they showed us the mugshot. I mean, it's right there, for people to see on YouTube and TV and what have you.